Texans off today, and I was watching a little Good Morning Football after doing a video, and one of my favorite shows. I enjoy it very much. I think they do a great job. I think they bring good energy. I think they bring good insight. And Peter Schrager and Kyle Brandt, I think they're great to watch. It's the go-to for me in the morning. Something was said, though, by Kyle Brandt, and it was said multiple times about all of the hype that the Houston Texans are getting. And right now, if you look at the betting odds, the Houston Texans to win the division, they're about even money. I think it's about plus 105 right now to win the division. I think they're minus 200 to make the playoffs. So there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of expectations. And quite frankly, I think the floor is high enough to where even in the worst case scenario, not predicting any injuries or anything like that, they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be in the playoff mix. But the question is, should the Texans be as significant of a playoff or division favorite, I should say, as they currently are? You look at last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, their win total over-under was 11.5. We kind of rolled our eyes at it. Should the Jags be that much of a heavy favorite? Fast forward 1 year now, where the Jags were a win in Week 18 against the Tennessee Titans from winning the division. The Jags are nearly 3-1 to the Texans being even money. You can make a case the Jags actually got better. Texans definitely got better, and they're going to get better naturally with all the young talent. But you can make a case that the Jags got better, a strong case, and quite frankly, a pretty easy case. Same thing with the Indianapolis Colts, who were a drop pass. Had they not dropped the pass in the red zone against the Texans, the Colts perhaps would have won the division too, depending on what happened with Jacksonville, but they would have been in the playoffs. Colts right now are about 3.5-1. And one of the key members of that Colts team, Zaire Franklin, he joined Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt and company. And this is where the skepticism was on display. This is Kyle Brandt with Zaire Franklin, and you can kind of read through the sarcasm. This is Kyle Brandt talking to Zaire Franklin about all the hype the Texans are getting.
Well, Zaire, we have bad news. I don't know if you've looked around, clicked around, read around, but the Houston Texans have already won the AFC South. They Super Bowl. They have a dynasty. They're having a parade. They're the best team of all time. They're all in the Hall of Fame. It's terrible news. Even though you guys did beat them last year and you had 13 tackles on the win, everybody loves the Texans. You got to play them twice, maybe even 3 times. This CJ Stroud, this young fella is really impressive. D'Amico, all that, it's great. But there's a lot of hype on the Texans right now. How do you feel as the centerpiece of the Colts?
Man, I just run my race. I focus on me, and whatever wall gets in the way gets ran through. So, I don't really pay attention too much. But when you win the big game, that's what matters. So they had a good win and playoff win. So they're king for a day. That's typically how that goes. But it's a new year. We all 0-0. So.
All right, there you go. And that's interesting. Here's a little bit more from the discussion about the Texans, and we'll get to more in depth with what Kyle Brandt had to say. But you guys tell me, do you think the Texans are getting too much hype? Here's a little bit more on it.
You're not telling them that. You sound a little political right now. You said that was a political. I feel like you say, "Hey, you know who I am. You know I'm a top 100."
No, listen. Look, I got a lot of respect for that team. I really do. I do. I think CJ is a hell of a player, young player. Obviously Mixon had a chance to compete against him last year in Cincy, and then they got they got Diggs, who's been one of my favorite receivers, since before I came in the league. So they got those guys, but once that helmet come on, and once they close that gate in Lucas Oil, and once the whistle blows, that's just a whole different part of me that they're gonna receive. So God bless everybody involved. So.
Yep. Now I got to ask you.
All right, so there we go. That's kind of political by Zaire Franklin. I think week 1, I just can't freaking wait for it. We saw Lucas Oil week 18 last year. Perfect way to start the season. But the Texans are getting a lot of national hype. And I kind of get what Kyle Brandt is saying. Like, is it too good to be true? Is it too much of an overreaction? Would this hype be existing if the Colts had beat the Texans and the Texans still had the same roster? Would this hype be existing if the Texans had lost in the first round of the playoffs? Let's say they play Buffalo instead of Cleveland. Would it be existing? Is it an overreaction? Is it another example of what it was with Jacksonville last year. You're still talking about a very young team. You're talking about a team that's having to go from 16 out of 17 games at noon on Sunday to now having 6 primetime games. There's a lot of praise. There's a lot of expectations. You can make a case that the other 3 teams in the division got better. Is it too much hype? Is it too much hype? I'll be honest. I think the Texans, if you put a gun to my head, I'm picking the Texans to win the division. They got the better quarterback. I think they got one of the best coaches, although I got the utmost respect for Shane Steichen. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. But from a betting perspective, the Colts at 3.5 to 1 and the Jags at 3 to 1, that's pretty damn good value, I would say. Let's hear more from Kyle Brandt talking about the Texans and all the hype they're getting. Here's Kyle Brandt and Peter Schrager as well, talking about the theme of this one was, what team would you like full access to, like Hard Knock style? I think we know where Kyle Brandt's going to go.
I just want to go to Texans camp. I want to see.
Follow Peter on IG.
Follow Peter on IG. I want to see the Texans Super Bowl season before it starts. The dynasty starts. Peter, we were talking about this. You weren't around. I have a thing where there's so much love on the Texans that I almost want to zag just because I don't like to go with the masses. But then I like everything you like about Houston.
What the hell is a zag? Everybody keeps saying that.
Everybody zigs, you zag, zigzag. So everyone's going this way.
That's new.
If everyone's zigging with the Texans, Kyle wants to zag.
I don't like to go with the masses.
But it's so hard not to fall in love.
Of course. I love them just like everybody else. Yeah. So I want to see it. I want to see Stroud. I want to see D'Amico. I want to see everybody. This is just this team, that they've been crowned as the cool new team. I've done it myself. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and even he admits, amidst all this skepticism, even he admits that, hey, he's kind of on board with it as well. And I think we all are. I think it would be foolish to bet against the Texans to win the division, but there are some good squads. There is a lot of hype. A lot of times whenever this happens, especially in the NFL, can be too good to be true. But the Texans are definitely a national topic. It's hard to find too much wrong with them. What could go right? Obviously, CJ Stroud continues to do what he does. The young players continue to get better. And these core pieces, this heavy spending by Nick Caserio, it just blends in perfectly. And you see an improved version of what we saw last year. That seems to be what everybody anticipates happening. That's what could go right. What could go wrong? I'm not going to predict injuries in the preseason. Obviously, that's a part of things, and obviously, more teams than not are going to have to deal with it. As far as just from watching closely with the Texans, I'm still not completely sold that they have a really, really good offensive line. I think it'll be better than last year. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Are they going to be able to run the ball effectively? They didn't run the ball that well last year. Is Joe Mixon going to be able to hold up? Are they going to be able to block well enough? I would keep an eye on that. Also, the safety position. I know everybody's excited about Jalen Petrie at nickel, Eric Murray playing a little bit more back there. Do you feel good about the safety position? D-line, I'm not really worried about. I know that's getting a lot of attention. I think D'Amico Ryans likes it. I think the edge guys are enough to where they can improve the play of those guys to their right and left. So as far as going wrong, I think it goes to the offensive line. It goes to the safety position. And the inability or lack thereof to run the rock. But the Texans are getting a lot of national attention. Even the skeptics are still optimistic. That's just kind of where we're at right now. We got a game coming up tomorrow, off day today. Fun time to be alive, no matter what happens when it comes to the Texans. Thanks for getting me to 10.2K. Let's keep it going. It's been a really, really fun ride. It's only going to get more fun. And whether the Texans – whether you're skeptical, whether you're optimistic, when it comes to this Texan stuff and covering this squad, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming through.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.